Good evening and welcome. Welcome to the 2013 Ring of Honor ceremony. I would like to welcome everybody in attendance tonight, those people in the audience, the honorees in front of me, the honorees that you will see this evening, and the future honorees, the varsity and sophomore football players here this evening over here on your right. Certainly Eastside has a long and strong tradition of outstanding football, noted by the field, the consecutive state championships out there, those consecutive undefeated teams, those of you here this evening, and the guys that continue to work very hard Monday through Friday each week and throughout the fall. Obviously, from my perspective, I would like to thank Mr. Sheeley, Mr. Aldrich, and Mr. Allen for all they do to make this come together and be a very special evening for all of you here, all of the honorees from the past, and the honorees this evening. With that, I would like to turn it over to Mike Sheeley so that we can get started with the presentation this evening.
Yeah, this one or that one? Put it right there and have at it.
All right, thank you. It's a great honor for me to be able to be MC for this program this evening, and we've got a lot of work to do, so we're going to get started right away. I'm thanking Mr. Pace for allowing us to have this celebration here at East High School in the Commons. It's a great facility. It's the second year we've been here, and hopefully this will become one of the other traditions that is a tradition at East High School. We'd also like to thank Mrs. Pageant. She's not here this evening, but without her leadership and then these events wouldn't be taking place. Secondly, I'd like to thank the East Waterloo Golf Alumni Committee that's helping to sponsor this event tonight. The food we have, the setup of the building, all those things cost a little bit of money, not to mention the awards that we're going to give out this evening. And so it's with help from a group like the East Alumni Golf Committee, we really appreciate their help. Also want to mention somebody special. I had some ideas for some things I wanted to do last year and I didn't quite get them done, but one of the things I wanted to do was enclose those bulletin boards in cloth. My sister, Sue Foreman, did the handiwork to get those boards together, so I really appreciate her help this year. We're very, very fortunate at East High School to have a number of people that have gone through this school, graduated from East High School, been active members of the student body, and many of them been very, very successful athletes. We have some members of that group with us this evening, and I'd like to make sure we have them stand and be recognized. First, and probably one of the biggest members of our group in attendance tonight, is Mr. Jim Miller, the retired wrestling coach at Wartburg College. Next, we have Mr. Donnie Blau. He's a retired athletic director and assistant principal from East High School. He is a little bit of an invasion this night because he went to Cedar Falls and he played against East Waterloo. But Mr. Donnie Blau signed up. We have another assistant administrator at East High School here this evening, Mr. Steve Gillen. This is his first year back in the halls of Troy, but he's a graduate of East High School, Mr. Steve Gillen. And last, as far as the ones I know that are present here this evening, is Mr. Derek Salas. He's the head basketball coach here at East High School, head boys basketball coach. Derek was a three-sport athlete here at East High School. He was an outstanding football player, an outstanding basketball player, and a track participant. Actually, he was pretty good in track, too. Maybe could have been his best sport if he wouldn't have been such a basketball nut. Okay, at this time, I know that Mr. Pace has already recognized the football team and Coach Meyer, but I want to say one other thing before I get started. This event, we selected this evening as the time to have the Ring of Honor because traditionally, the biggest football game of the year, I don't care if you're counting state championship games or Big 8 conferences or what, but every one of these guys present will tell you that the biggest game of the year is East-West. You play those suckers tomorrow night, and I know you've had some rough breaks this year, but by God, kick their ass tomorrow. A lot of people, as they talk to me, talk to Coach Aldrich, or talk to Coach Allen, they wonder, you know, what is exactly the Ring of Honor? Where did it come from? How did it come about? Well, the three of us got together in 2005, and we decided that it was about time that we start honoring those outstanding football players that had their careers here at East High School. And the young men that played in those years, they excelled during their career here at East High School. This select group of Trojans have made major contributions to East High School, their success, and they brought positive recognition to the program for their outstanding gridiron achievements while playing for the Orange and Black. That's our mission statement. That's what we're trying to do each and every year, is honor those football players. And believe it or not, we're 53 strong right now as far as members that are in. We're adding 9 new people tonight. That's 63 members in a group called the Ring of Honor. There's very few high schools in this state that can put together 63 athletes that have played at that high school that deserve such a recognition. So that's what we're all about, and that's what we're hoping to do tonight. At this time, I would like to honor the members of our Ring of Honor that are deceased. And for that special recognition, I would like everybody to stand, bow their heads, take their hats off, and we'll just observe a moment of silence as I read their names. Reggie Roby, inductee, 2005. Pete Ross, inductee, 2007. Carlisle Bixby, inductee, 2009. And William Big Sun Flowers, inducted 2012. Thank you. Now I'd like to recognize those members of the Ring of Honor that are present this evening. Charlie said that him and Mike didn't want to go first. They wanted to go in reverse order this year, so we're starting at the bottom of the alphabet. And you guys at the bottom, like I am, know that that's doesn't happen very often. Almost every time you get an alphabetical list, it's top to bottom all the time. So our first Ring of Honor member we'd like to recognize and have stand, and we'd like all the Ring of Honor members to stand until they're all introduced. Our first one is Coach Larry Van Oort. Larry. This coach was the professor of the offensive line. He taught his best players how to do the right way during the week in the classroom, and seeing them pass the test each week that they needed to do in order to pass their courses. Each Friday night, he propelled an East offense that dominated its opponents. His coaching record while an assistant at East High School for 6 years was an astounding 49 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. 2010 inductee Larry Van Oort. Next is Ron Turner, the offensive blocking catalyst on a dominating offense for the #1 ranked football team in the state in 1973. His passion, team spirit, and desire for East to excel was contagious as both an East player and an East coach. 2000 inductee, Rocket Ron Turner. Gary Stevens, one of East High School's most versatile offensive backs, playing quarterback one year, then tailback the next year, earning all-state recognition at both positions. He led East football team to successful seasons and state rankings. This do-it-all magician on offense. 2005 inductee, Gary Stevens. Cole Southworth, playing in the trenches, going both ways as an offensive tackle and defensive nose guard, solidifying both sides of the ball and helping East secure its 3rd straight state championship in 1968 and being named an all-state selection. 2000 inductee, Cole Southworth. Mike Sheeley, starting his coaching resume at Logan Junior High and on at East as a sophomore coach and later varsity assistant, his dedication to the East football and desire to make every player better as a student, athlete, and valuable contributor to society. The man who bleeds orange and black eternally. 2000 inductee, Mike Sheeley. Walter Reed, starting offensive guard for East's 1971 state championship team that featured a lethal offense and continued his successful leadership at football skills at Wartburg College, nationally ranked football team. The former golden voice of KBBG radio, 2012 inductee, Walter Reed. Jerry Moses, voted by the Des Moines Register as the best high school football player ever in Iowa. He was a starter as a sophomore and continued his legacy for 2 more years, shattering numerous statistics during his playing time while leading East to back-to-back-to-back state champions. 2005 inductee, Jerry Moses. Tim Moses, 3-year varsity player who participated in the 1979 semifinal game as a sophomore and leader, a key member of UNI's 1985 Gateway Conference champion football team, an outright leader in an offensive huddle as a quarterback or a defensive huddle as a safety. Now the leader of East High's boys track team, 2011 inductee, Timmy Moses. Dave Magnuson. This hit-seeking missile out of East defensive backfield at strong safety could cover the run and pass with equal success. Named first team All-Metro and All-Conference, his play elevated East to the 1986 playoffs and becoming an assistant coach for the East varsity football team. 2010 inductee, Dave Magnuson. Mark Loftus, helping lead East dominating defense to its farthest advancement in the playoffs against Valley of Des Moines in the semifinals in 1979. The head-hunting, fill the hole, pursue sideline to sideline, all-state first-team middle linebacker, Mark Loftus, 2005 inductee. Randy Lee, combining speed, quickness, and strength at slot back. He could run, catch, and block with equal ability, not caring which one he did as long as it helped East football win, which happened time and time again when he played. 2011 inductee Randy Lee. Al Lampman, serving as the first head freshman coach ever at East High School, then assistant sophomore coach, head sophomore coach, and then varsity assistant coach, attaining success at every level. The doctor of examining the X's and O's of football, 2010 inductee Al Lampman. Brian Jones, the Pittsburgh Steeler-like center that propelled East's offensive line to a dominant running offense, which led them to conference champs and semifinals in 1979. The man who left defensive no guards black and blue after playing against him for a game. And later, standout collegiate star at Simpson College and head football coach at East High School, Mr. Brian Jones. John Dunn, starting at quarterback for the 1970 state championship team, his pinpoint passing resulted in over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. Through the air and his elusive running for 250 more yards, he was voted All-Metro, All-Conference, a general in charge and totally respected by all his teammates, 2007 inductee John Dunn. This one's a good one. Kendrick Neal Brown, he made a suggestion to me that there might be a mistake in the program. He says he was the leading tackler in East High School history. We'll have to look that up. Dominant at pulling guard on offense and most destructive at middle linebacker on defense, earning all-state honors leading East to its first undefeated regular season since 1973. He continued a legacy at middle linebacker that is his standard for future defenders to strive for. 2009 inductee Kendrick Neal Brown. Mike Allen. Oh, Mike Allen. Starting at guard and defensive end for East teams in 1966 and 67. His dominating presence and outstanding blocking ability was a big factor to an explosive offense which led East to 2 straight state championships. An All-Metro, All-Conference, and first-team All-Stater, one of East High's biggest athletic boosters, and he didn't even wear orange tonight, 2005 inductee Mike Allen. And this is the way Charlie likes it. Last but not least, Charlie Aldrich. Starting on East's 1970 state championships team, combining split end quickness, speed, and sure hands at tight end, the position, earning their offense pass over 1,300 yards his senior year, later becoming a valuable member of East football coaching staff. He's not even mentioned his success he had at UNI as a football player there. 2009 inductee Charlie Aldrich. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. You may be seated. Now for the reason that we're basically here this evening. We have some new members to induct into our Ring of Honor this evening. And the first one is one of those individuals that come along maybe once in a lifetime if you're lucky. A couple years ago, I received the Assistant Coaches Award, and we've had 2 or 3 other assistant coaches that have won that award. And last year, the committee made a decision that we should start honoring some of the head football coaches that have been present here at East High School. Last year's first inductee was Mr. Howard Vernon, almost an automatic, the winningest football coaches percentage-wise in the history of East High School. This year, we are very honored to honor another man that's cut from the same cloth. Roger Kittleson. Coach Kittleson was an assistant coach for 3 state championships teams, and then he was named head coach in 1971 and led the Trojans to their 6th straight undefeated state title. During his 18-year career as head coach, he led East to numerous conference championships and playoff appearances. He was the North coach in the Shrine Bowl and later inducted into the Iowa High School Coaches Hall of Fame. He retired, actually, as the winningest head football coach in East High School history, Coach Roger Kittleson.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you to the people that put all their time and effort into making this possible. Mike Sheeley and Charlie Aldrich and Mike Allen, and I know there's other people involved in this that make this possible every year. First off, I need to do this because every time we've had a banquet in my 19 years at East High, I forgot to introduce my wife. My wife, Julie, is in the back, along with my oldest son. My oldest son and his wife, Phil and Sally, are here. And if you'll bear with me just a minute here, I'd like to indulge in myself and thank some people that have been dear to me in starting my career at East High. I played football at Wartburg. I went to Wayne State, and right from Wayne State I came to East Waterloo, and I never left. This is my one and only teaching and coaching job here at East High School. Jersey Jeremiah was the guy at Wayne State that got me lined up, and Howard Vernon was the guy that hired me into the football program. And because of those two and Bruce Wegman and Murray Weir, I stayed here for 33 years. I was fortunate to have a lot of individuals like players here, players there, and I haven't actually counted, but I figure that I probably coached 750 to 800 football players. My dream is that at least one of those 800 will appreciate East High, and I know they do right now, and will support East High forever. I understand that East High right now is having a little trouble on the football field. I guarantee you, in my 19 years, there were years like this that were a struggle. But I also want you to understand that when East High won 56 straight football games, they started at 1. And I think tomorrow night would be a good time to start at 1. Congratulations to all the inductees, the people that will be inducted here. Thank you very much.
Among tonight's inductees, we have 3 that we're honoring posthumously. Our first posthumous inductee this evening is Carl Anderson. Mr. Mike Allen will come up and accept his award.
Good evening. I'm going to apologize for some things that were said about East and West, about how we're going to do that tomorrow. We're going to do it with dignity, but we are going to kick some booty, okay? One of the reasons why we are here is to honor many, many, many things, but do not think that the only reason that we are here is to celebrate playing West and East playing against each other. It's all about the ring of honor. It's honor. Honor yourself. Have the pride that your parents and your relatives have instilled into you how to behave. It's all about being honored. This ring of honor, these selectees, these inductees got here because of their hard work and the honor to the programs. So I want to let you know that that's what this is all about. There's no one up here that did not do the extra work, football players, that you need to do in off season. There's no coach up here that did not do anything off season. They did it off season. So as I honor Carl Anderson was one of those who is now deceased, he also worked hard. He also had an honorable family. He also did the kind of things that when he walked with honor, and when he sat in class with honor. So take this ring of honor as thinking the honor. It's the H-O-N-O-R, honor. Honesty, work ethics go a long way in life. And Carl Anderson, who's deceased now, he was a starting fullback on East High School State Championship team, all Big 8, all-state selection, 2-year letter winning in wrestling. He could have been a 3-year, but there was somebody blocking him. He couldn't take this one. But as I close here, football players, and I close here because you will one day, from your class, be up here and be part of this ring of honor. But character and honesty and work ethics will put you here. Thank you on behalf of Anderson's family for bringing him into this honor as becoming a Ring of Honor participant. Thank you.
I like to do history. I like to talk about history. I like to research the history of East High School. As you go back through the old annuals and yearbooks and newspapers, it's interesting what you can find. I know another individual present here tonight that likes to do the same thing, Mr. Mike Chapman. He's going to accept the award and then introduce another person that has something to do with the next honoree. A football player at East High School in 1914, Mr. Fred Becker. Would Mr. Mike Chapman come forward, please?
Well, Mike has given me the toughest task of the evening. He said I have to keep this to 5 minutes. Let me tell you that I traveled the state talking about Fred Becker and Niall Kinnick. 3 months ago, I was at the Hall of Pride in Des Moines talking about Fred Becker, and I talked for 45 minutes, and when I was done, they came up and said, "How come you're done so soon? We want to hear more about this amazing person." I spoke at the Iowa Quarterback Club in Iowa City 3 years ago about Niall Kinnick and Fred Becker, and Bump Elliott, the legendary ex-athletic director, came up to me and said, "When you were telling the story of Fred Becker, I got goosebumps. That story should be taught and told in every school in the state of Iowa." How did I stumble across the Fred Becker story? I created the International Wrestling Institute Museum in Newton in 1998. We made the decision to move it to Waterloo in 2008 and name it after a wrestler who didn't go to East. He went to West High. I can say that, can't I, Mike? Yeah. By the name of Dan Gable. One hot summer night, I was driving past East High, reflecting on all the memories. I went to school here, and I saw this little plaque out in front. Still out there, guys. Go look at it tonight or tomorrow. And it says, in memory of our classmates who gave their lives for freedom's cause. First name, Lieutenant Fred Becker, class of 1914. Killed in the Battle of Chateau Thierry, France, July 18, 1918. And as I'm driving away, I say to myself, I'm the former sports editor of the Cedar Rapids Gazette. I'm a big Hawkeye fan. I followed Iowa athletics all my life. That can't be the same Fred Becker that's the very first All-American football player in the history of the University of Iowa. How could I have gone to East High and not known that? So I went to the library and I pulled up the July 19th, 1918 newspaper. And there's this amazing headline, Lieutenant Fred Becker killed on the battlefield in France. And it starts talking about Fred Becker. He was born and raised on Newell Street. And he used to play sandlot football games in the Illinois Central Yardway. And when he came to East High, he weighed 98 pounds as a freshman. But right away he saw he had the fighting spirit. Everything I read about Fred Becker, he had the fighting spirit. And he kept moving up until his senior year. He was first team all-state football for East Waterloo. He also participated in track and basketball. He's in the German club. He was in swing band and choir. And he went to the University of Iowa, and freshmen were ineligible back then, and the varsity coach at Iowa said, we have to pull him out of practice against the varsity. He's too disruptive. We can't find anybody that can block him. And in 1916, as a sophomore, he becomes first team All-American, University of Iowa. The very first All-American in the history of the University of Iowa. He's got 2 great seasons ahead of him. But World War I was erupting all over Europe. And Fred Becker signed up. He gave up his last two years to go fight for freedom's cause. And he's charging up a hill on the battlefields in France. And he takes out a German machine gun nest, and he's credited with saving the lives of 30 of his comrades. 2 hours later, Fred Becker, Lieutenant Fred Becker, is shot and killed. They bury him right there in France. And I think that's the end of the story. But then I find out that they bring our doughboys home after the war's over. In 1921, Fred Becker is brought home to Waterloo in a casket. And at the Waterloo train depot, 350 people are there when the train comes in bearing his body. And 2 days later at the church, there's 2,500 people there. And at the funeral, there's 5,000 people at Fairview Cemetery. It's the largest crowd ever gathered in Waterloo, Iowa at that time. And he won the Distinguished Service Cross for valor, the French Croix de Guerre for bravery, and the Belgian War Cross for bravery. He's considered the most decorated wartime soldier in Waterloo history. So I put a picture of him on the cover of my magazine, Iowa History Journal. Fred Becker's incredible story of Iowa athletics and patriotism. The University of Iowa calls me up and said, we just read your story on Fred Becker. We didn't know any of that. Can we use that story in our football program for the Iowa-Purdue game? And I said, I'd be honored. Then 3 months later, Les Steenledge, who's the director of their Hall of Fame, calls me up and says, Mike, Fred Becker's been on our list to be inducted into the University of Iowa Athletic Hall of Fame for 15 years, and he never gets any votes because nobody knows anything about him. So I took the liberty of attaching your story and sending it to all the voters. We had our meeting last night. Fred Becker got every vote. It was unanimous. Fred Becker's going into our Hall of Fame, but we can't find any living relatives. Would you come accept on his behalf? So at the Iowa UNI football game 3 years ago, I'm on the field in front of 77,000 people, and I see the picture of Fred Becker go up on the scoreboard, and they talk about him. Then East Waterloo calls me up, Mike Allen, and says, we see all this information about Fred Becker, and I checked, and he's not in our Hall of Fame. Can you come help us induct him into the East Waterloo Hall of Fame? And I do. Then Donna Huff, a teacher at West Waterloo, calls me up, and she says, will you come talk about Fred Becker? I heard you on the radio, KXEL and WHO radio. So I start talking about Fred Becker all over the state. And then one of my good friends, Gary Lee, here tonight, called me up and says, hey, Mike, they're thinking about building a new school in Waterloo. Do you have any ideas for a name? So I go to the Board of Education meeting and I pitch the name of Fred Becker and all that he accomplished and all he stands for. 6 months later, they named the new school Fred H. Becker Elementary. And I'm the guest speaker at the open house in front of 350 people, talking about Fred Becker, what he means to Waterloo, what he means to East Waterloo, what he means to the state of Iowa. A young man, 22 years of age, who gave up everything for freedom's cause. Then 4 months ago, I get an email out of nowhere. And this person says, Mike, I've been reading all you've done about Fred Becker, and I see that you say there's no living relatives. My mother is a direct descendant. We live in Seattle. Her grandmother was Fred Becker's sister. When Fred Becker died, his parents helped raise my mother's father, and my mother was born in Waterloo. So we become pals over email. And I tell her about tonight, that Fred Becker is going to be honored tonight. So she flew in with her son from Seattle, Washington, and we've spent all day today going to Fairview Cemetery to visit Fred Becker's grave, and going to the American Legion Post, and going to the house where he grew up. She's here tonight, and she's going to accept, on behalf of Fred Becker, may I introduce to you the only living relative that I know of. Fred Becker was her granduncle, Linda Kaufman.
Thank you. I'm honored to do this to you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. This is my son, Bob. Told him he had to stand here even if he didn't say anything. On behalf of my family, my great-grandparents, John and Marie Becker, their son, Fred, my grandmother, Anna, my dad, Bob Pashby, who actually played for West Waterloo. Hi. When I was growing up, we would come to Waterloo and see all these places we saw today and hear the stories. And it was very touching to me to go see a school named after him, because all our lives we have been told in my family that education is the most important thing you can do, because education stays with you forever. So it's touching at the school. And I'm a chaplain in a hospital, and I've led grief groups for many years. And the most important task of grieving is to find a connection in memory to someone you've loved. So when we tell our stories over and over and keep the stories alive, we keep these people with us, their values, their accomplishments. So I want to thank, on behalf of our whole family, my brother, my husband, all of us, I want to thank Mike Chapman for keeping these memories alive. His story has inspired our family, and it's just wonderful and humbling to know that it has inspired other people as well. So thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart.
Is this one working? Nope. Just goes there. Is it? Not working at all, is it? I think I can yell loud enough to take care of it. Okay? It's working, Mike. Huh? It's working. Okay, we'll go with it then. Our next inductee was a great football player here at East High School, and he has a good friend here as a member of the Ring of Honor, and he will start to accept the award for him. Mr. Charlie Aldrich.
Thanks, Mike. I'm here on behalf of Craig Atkins, And I want to tell you, I am honored to reference the accomplishments that he achieved while he was here at East High School. Craig's family is here tonight. His wife, Linda, his son, Ryan, came in from Chicago. His daughter, Heidi, is up on stage. His mother, Lorraine, his brothers, Bill and Benny, and plus numerous members of his extended family. As has been mentioned in his biography, Craig was the starting defensive tackle on the 1970 state championship football team and was a teammate of mine and other Ring of Honor members, John Dunn, Walter Reed, Neil Moses, Dwayne Orton, Tracy Greer, and was coached by Coach Kittleson and Coach Van Orton. Craig was a first team all-conference Big 8 selection, and he was also an all-state selection. He was part of a really most dominant defense. And the thing about the 1970 state championship football team is they were very physical up front. And we went back and I looked up some of the statistics from a good friend of ours. Maybe some of you remember Hank Engen was the statistician at the time. But for the entire year, 1970, opponents only rushed for a grand total of 328 yards for the season against us. And that was due to the upfront play by Craig Atkins and many others. If you break that down a little bit more, they averaged 42 yards a game. A whole game, they ran the ball, they got 42 yards. And breaking it down more, they got 1.3 yards every time they rushed the ball. So you imagine trying to run against that East defense, and you average 1.5 yards per play. That shows you how good it was at that time. Craig was a great teammate. He was very dedicated to do his job correctly, and he had attention to detail. Plus, he was a very, very physical player at defensive tackle. He would take, and Coach Van Oort would teach him, he would just knock that offensive lineman up. He'd make the tackle, and if he didn't make the tackle, he would free it up for the linebackers to scrape and go ahead and make the play. Upon graduation, Craig accepted a full-ride scholarship at Iowa State University to play under the legendary Johnny Majors. And if you hadn't had a chance to look at it, it's a really neat picture on the board up there with Coach Majors and Craig Atkins together. That's quite an honor. Craig started his freshman season at Iowa State, but returned to Waterloo after some external situations presented themselves for where he wanted to stay home. He served a job at John Deere's. He secured a job at John Deere's and was a valuable member of the workforce there for over 40 years. One of Craig's biggest memories that happened to him at East High football is also one of East High football's biggest memories to help keep a 56-game winning streak alive. And I want to elaborate with you real quickly if I could. Our senior season, I don't need this damn mic. Our senior season, we went down and played Ames High School. Ames High School was 4-1 and we were 5-0. And Ames was really geared up to take us on. And they had about 5,000 people in the stands. It was senior night, it was rocking and it was rolling, and it was a tight game. Ames was a tough team. So we got going back and forth. Come halftime, we go in the locker room and we're behind. And I think it's the first time in the history of the streak that East is behind at halftime. So there's that type of game. So we come out the second half, we get a touchdown, we go up, we get another touchdown, we go up. All of a sudden Ames scores, we go into the fourth quarter, and it's a dogfight, but we got the lead. Take us down to about 4.5 minutes to go in the game. We got a 4th and 1 on our 20-yard line. That means 80 yards to go, but 20 yards the other way. Coach Wigman decides, hey, #1 team in the state, man, we're going for it. So we lined up, and I think Ames must have had 10 people in the box, about 8 of them right in that A gap. And we ran a dive or something like this, and bam, stopped cold, stopped us cold right in the spot. The referee comes up, looks at the ball, and turns and goes, first down, Ames. You look over that Ames sideline, they're like, yeah, baby, yeah, we got him. You look over to the East sideline, like, oh, man, this ain't good. This ain't good at all. So as it continues on, Ames moves the ball down the field as the clock goes down. Move the ball down the field. They got a 1st and 5 on the 5-yard line. Next thing you know, they got on the 3-yard line. And I remember talking to John Dunn on the sideline. And I said, man, once they score, this is going to be tough. We ain't got a lot of time to come back and score. And John goes, yeah, I know. I don't know. And about that time he answered, there's a great big melee. People are scrumming and all over the place. There's an Ames player here. There's an East player here. And there's a big scrum. And out of the scrum comes Craig Atkins holding the football up. The old referee turns and he goes, yeah, okay. First down, East High. Look over to our sideline. We're like, yeah, baby, we got it. Look over that Ames sideline. Oh. And you know what happened after that? I think Neil Moses broke off a left tackle. He goes 81 yards for a touchdown. We kick off to them. We get a turnover. We get the ball back. We score again. We end up winning 38-22. It's like, oh, man, great. But the question came in afterwards. Could you have scored those 2 touchdowns if Ames would have scored? I mean, you scored 2 touchdowns in less 2 minutes. Could you have scored? You know, well, maybe not. But I'm sure as hell glad we didn't have to try because it was tough. And it's all because of Craig Atkins standing tall and referee says, East High ball. Now, was that a big play in the game? Let me tell you, the next day or the next Sunday in the Waterloo Courier, Burke Evans, assistant sports editor, had this article, and I've got extra copies. Anybody like to read it? Recovered fumble saves Trojans. Recovered fumble saves the Trojans. And that was Craig Atkins. It's one of his biggest moments, and it's one of East High's biggest moments to keep that live going. To accept on his behalf is his daughter Heidi, and I would like to, the East High Football Hall of Fame is proud to welcome into the Ring of Honor 2013 inductee, Craig Atkins.
Okay. Testing. My dad was a man of few words, so I will keep this short just like he would have. I was his biggest fan for 34 years, and I never heard that story that Charlie just told because my dad was a really humble guy, and part of being honored is also being humble about it, and I hope you guys can kind of take a lesson from that. And this really would have meant the world to him. I know his spirit's here right now, smiling down, and I don't really have anything else to say, but thank you, East High, and thank you especially Charlie for pushing for him to get this recognition. It really means a lot to me and to my family as well. So thank you.
We're going to go fairly quickly through the rest of our inductees this evening because we could spend a long time talking about each of these people and their accomplishments, both on the football field, on other athletic activities, on things outside of sports that they did here at East High School, and their accomplishments later in life. So hopefully you won't mind if we just give you a brief biopsy of their work when they were at East High School. Our first live inductee this evening is Mr. Craig Carper. Craig was the starting quarterback on a #1 ranked football team in the state of Iowa in 1973. He led East in the state playoffs for the first time in history. That's the first time they had playoffs. They only had 4 teams going in total in the whole state. East was one of them. Carper was the leader. An all Big 5 selection and all state honorable mention, 2-year letterman in baseball, and he helped lead the state high school and American Legion tournaments. He played 2 years in junior college football at Nyack and Mason City. He's officiated basketball in the metro area for over 20 years. I'm proud to introduce to you this evening 2013 inductee Craig Carper.
Thank you, Mike. Playing football at East High meant everything to me, and tonight's recognition is a reward I never imagined. I'm honored to be included in a group that has so many great players. The pride I felt when we broke huddle and walked to the line of scrimmage was awesome. We looked like a football team, and we were a team, top to bottom. That is why I'm humbled by this recognition. I know in my heart that our team would have been just as successful if Gus or Stevie would have started. So tonight, I'd like to thank my coach and fellow Ring of Honor inductee, Coach Kittleson, my position coach, Lowell Grunwald, for the instruction I received while learning the position of quarterback. A big thanks to Charlie for keeping me informed on the Ring of Honor and what's going on at East High. Thanks also to my teammates, especially Ron Turner and Norm Montgomery, my fellow Ring of Honor teammates. I'd like to also thank my parents for the support I and my brothers and sisters received in all our endeavors growing up. My mom would take me to Denver High School football games when I was in the first and second grade to watch her cousin play football for Denver. My dad would drag me and my brothers around to Wartburg, Upper Iowa, and Luther to watch my uncle Bill play football for Simpsons. That's how I came to love the game. And finally, I'd like to thank my two favorite wide receivers, my brothers Doug and Mike. All those games we played in Mom and Dad's front yards, at Good Shepherd Church, at recess and after school at Harry Krieg School, and Sunday in Denver after church and dinner at Grandma's. That's what gave me the love for football and made this honor possible. Thank you.
One of the things that I enjoy most, having been a teacher and a coach here at East High School and a guidance counselor, is the excellent opportunity I had to work with so many fine students. I just absolutely just about throw up when I go throughout this community and I have people tell me how bad it must have been being at East High School. I graduated from this school. I love this school. My sisters graduated from East High School. My mother went here until she was a junior, and then her family moved to the west side, and she had to graduate from West High School, and it's probably the worst day in her life. So the tradition in my family, and when they say I bleed orange and black, I'll cut myself right now and prove it to you if I have to. But the people I've worked with here are outstanding. And definitely in that top group of people that I ever worked with here at East High School is our next inductee, Jeremy Jones. Jeremy was a member of the 1994 and 95 East High football teams and was a 2-year starter for the Trojans along the offensive and defensive lines. He was an All-Metro and honorable mention All-Conference selection after his junior season. As a senior, he was named a captain of his team and was selected to the All-Metro, First Team Mississippi Valley Conference, First Team Iowa Newspaper Association, and Des Moines Register All-State teams. He was also named the Des Moines Register Elite All-State team as a center. Upon graduation, he was selected to play in the Iowa Shrine All-Star Game and was named a captain of the North team. I believe Jeremy is the only East High football player to play in the North-South All-Star Game to ever be named captain. Jeremy earned a scholarship to continue his football career at the University of Northern Iowa, where his playing career was cut short by injuries. As a student, he was a salutatorian of his graduating class at East High School and earned a bachelor and master's degree from the University of Northern Iowa. He has served as a teacher and coach in the Waterloo and Iowa City Community School Districts and currently serves as the Associate Principal and Director of Activities at South Tama High School in Tama, Iowa. 2013 inductee, Mr. Jeremy Jones.
Thank you, Coach Sheeley. Truly a great honor for me to be here tonight to be recognized as one of the members of this Ring of Honor. Anybody who knows anything about East High football obviously understands the proud tradition that East High has on the Gridiron and understands the names that are associated with East High football. It's truly a humbling experience. I don't want to stand up here and talk about myself for a real long time tonight, but I do want to take the opportunity to thank some people who made this night possible for me. The first people that I'd like to thank would be my parents. As an educator, I understand how important parents are in any young person's life. They're their first and most important teachers. And certainly my parents instilled in me the values and the characteristics that it took to be a successful football player, and also instilled those values that it took to be a successful person in the game of life. Things like hard work, commitment, responsibility, earning what you get. All those things were things that my parents role modeled to me in their lives, and things that I learned as lessons that I took with me to be successful as a student athlete here at East High School. I'd also like to thank the teachers and coaches who were a part of my life here at East High. It's certainly easy in today's society to become sidetracked with a lot of different things and for students to take paths that don't lead them in the right direction. But I had teachers and coaches who believed in me, who saw something special in me as a person, as a student, as an athlete, and developed those qualities. And I'm very appreciative of that. I think the biggest compliment that I can give to teachers and coaches who helped me along the way is to say that they made a difference in my life. And that's certainly the reason why I decided to go into education, is to try to make a difference in the lives of young people that I work with on a daily basis. I also want to thank my teammates. Football is certainly the consummate team game. You can't be successful without the other 10 guys on your team helping you out. There's members of my graduating class that are already a part of the Ring of Honor. Jerry Moses Jr. was a running back for our team. When I was a senior, he was a junior. But I certainly think there are other members of the team that I was a part of that deserve to be members of this Ring of Honor. So I want to thank my teammates, some of whom are present tonight, and I appreciate the gesture of coming here. And then finally, I just want to echo the sentiments of Coach Kittleson and recognize my family for the support that they continue to provide to me. My wife Michelle is here, and as well as my 3 kids, Blake, Alexandra, and Emerson. Emerson was just walking up here a little bit ago, so that was her. She's about 18 months right now, and she doesn't speak. She likes to grunt a lot, so I think that she maybe has a future as an offensive lineman as well. So I can be a proud dad someday when she's out there playing for somebody, maybe. With that being said, I just want to say thank you again. Like I said, I'm truly humbled and honored to be a part of this prestigious group. It's a tremendous honor, and I can't be thankful enough. So to the committee members who were selecting of me of this honor, thank you. And Trojans, good luck tomorrow night. Hopefully you beat the Wallhawks and turn the season around. Thank you.
Very tempting to go on and on about the different athletes that I've known here at East High School and having them being inducted into the Ring of Honor. This next inductee just fits right into the same group. I was still, believe it or not, a fairly young coach when this young man played football here at East High School. He was tremendous. His credentials are very, very similar to Jeremy's. He was an outstanding football player, outstanding baseball player, a pretty good basketball player, and a great student. Our next inductee is Paul Owen. He was first-team All-State selection at quarterback for East High School. They were a ranked football team. He passed for more yardage than any quarterback in East history for a single season, completing 74 passes and 117 attempts for 1,402 yards. As I said, he participated in baseball and continued his football career at Waldorf College when it was still just a 2-year school. I think he can probably tell you about some of his better athletic achievements better than I can, but a great guy, 2013 inductee, Mr. Paul Owen.
I watched the YouTube video last night of last year's induction ceremony, and everyone spoke for an average of like 15 minutes each, so I figure I got about a half hour here. No, they really weren't that long. Of course, I'm just kidding. But if you haven't seen it, it's pretty neat. I am just humbled and honored to be here, more so than when I came, after seeing the people that are already here, that have been inducted. The people that are being inducted tonight, to even be mentioned in their same breath is truly an honor, and also to know the rich tradition that came here before me. It's just awesome. Thank you. My wife said, no matter what you do, keep it short. But I guess I see myself as an example. My senior year is an example of someone who, when given an opportunity, made the most of it. And so now I have an opportunity to speak with a captive audience who has the same exuberance for East football. So it's an opportunity I'm not going to just pass up. But I did want to mention to LaShane's mom here that I had the opportunity, the privilege of working with LaShane as a volunteer coach. What a stud. LaShane was an awesome player. It was a tremendous team. And we used to just be on the sideline waiting for LaShane to tear somebody up. He'll come along the sideline. All right, 30 years. I can't believe it's been that long already since I was a senior here at East, on the sidelines at the old Sloan Wallace. After I started to have some success during the season, and afterward, I heard comments like, it come out of nowhere, and that I was virtually unknown before the season started. And in most respects, I think that was true. After all, I had hardly played the year before. I wasn't a returning starter or anything. I was only a letterman because I had been held the ball on place kicks. The one game that I got in and happened to throw a touchdown pass, in the paper they called me Tom Owens instead of Paul Owens. So I was used to him screwing up my last name, but not my first name too. Come on. And I had more success as a baseball player. So if anyone were going to predict, including myself, you know, your senior year you're going to have some success in a sport. What sport would that be? I wouldn't have predicted football. You know, but I love football. And that love dated back to when I was, before I even remember. My mom has a picture of me in my Detroit Lion outfit, you know, from head to toe. And then my first memory of East football, and this was a big turning point in my football love, actually. I think I was about 8 years old, and a friend of my mom's, a female friend, she invited me to go to an East game. And I remember going there and being in the tunnel and watching those hulking guys come in, and you hear the click-clack on that concrete, and I was sold. You know, they run out in the field. I'm like, I want to do that someday. Another big event happened shortly after that. My mom remarried, and Coach Larry Jones became my dad, and Coach Brian Jones became my stepbrother. So, you know, an instant new family, and they really brought a lot of discipline to my life. You know, things could have went totally different for me, but because they were there, I can't thank you enough. What else did I want to say about that? Oh, also back then, I didn't like to admit it for some reason when I was in high school. I went to Emmanuel Lutheran through 8th grade. I didn't think, they wouldn't think I was cool, right, if I went to a Lutheran school, a Christian school. But I'm so glad my mom sent me there. Without God and the discipline that He gave me, there's no way I'm here tonight. And thank you, Mom, for you're always my biggest cheerleader. If I ever lacked confidence in anything, I can just talk to her, and she might be naive about it, but she felt that she knew I could do it. So I looked up to Brian so much. In fact, all you guys, I just followed East football and all sports. You know, my dad was a coach as well. I got to see it up close. Loftus and Wilson and Randy Lee. Didn't I see you run into a light pole? I didn't know you were going to knock it down, but Zappadel and Smith and watching you guys, it was, I just knew I wanted, I didn't know that I could ever be anywhere near as good as you, but I wanted to try. And you know, the program, you look at the program and you see all the All-Americans and first-team All-Staters and mythical state championships. And you see that every year in every game, and you know that tradition that's here. That's not going to be at many places throughout the country. So I went to Emmanuel, and where it was great for school, it wasn't so great for football. Played flag football. So we didn't have the opportunities like you have now for 7-on-7 games, and you probably have some kind of tackle football program. We played in the neighborhood, like Chris had mentioned, and but I still established that love for football. So in 9th grade, first time I get to play tackle football at McKinstry, you know, I'm 5'7", 130 pounds. What position do I play? Well, Brian was a center. I'll try center. Well, I didn't mention I was slow, too. But that's why I played center and outside linebacker, and I never came off the field all year. By the way, I was a horrible linebacker. But I thought I was a decent center, and that with some growing and proper technique, that's what I would have tried the next year. And then Coach Sheeley, he was my basketball coach 9th grade year, and I don't know what they saw in me, or they were just desperate that they wanted to take Warren Jones, the quarterback for Logan, and convert him to a tailback, and they didn't know who else was going to play quarterback. They said, would you want to take a try? And I was taking classes up here at East anyway in the afternoon. He said, why don't you just, you could stay after and lift weights, and so I did that. The guys are really, really good to me, as I could barely get a bar off my, you know, off my chest, it seemed. But it helped a lot. By the time it got to be sophomore, Coach Johnson taught me all I knew. I mean, I was so raw, I knew nothing about playing quarterback. But managed to win the job and had some good success. And because of that, I came into the next year, thought I had a chance of playing. Didn't work out, but I still, by the end of the year, I knew that this was for me, that I was going to do whatever I could. Oh, I do have to mention one story. I don't know when this started, when it became your tradition, Coach Kittleson, but anyone who played for him, wherever you started it, I'm sure you can remember, you know, before that first game, we played at Cedar Rapids Jefferson, so we're in Kingston in the locker room. It says, heads down. And of course, you know what's coming next. It says, are you ready? And we talk about that even now because it just scared the crap out of us. It literally just, whoa, yeah, you know, it's so simple, but man, it was effective, but getting you ready to play. But after my junior year, I decided that I wasn't even going to go off for basketball. I wanted to try to make myself better as a football player, to gain strength and speed and whatever it took. So go to the Y every day with John Nettie, another football player, and you know, lift weights. I gained a lot of strength during that 1 month, and then, but Coach McGraw knew I was missing basketball, and I really thank him for allowing me to go back, because I think it's very important to participate in a lot of things. I don't know if you get to so much nowadays, but still, I would take every opportunity to lift weights in my basement and go outside in the wintertime running. My mom can attest to this. Finding anybody I could who would catch the ball for me, and that included Brian. So, I do have a nice story about Brian, too. I told him I was going to tell it. Because he just told me last night that he had a couple bad snaps on punts, was it? Once as a sophomore, once as a senior. And I got to my sophomore year, I still did some long snapping. I would just throw another jersey on over my quarterback uniform, whatever. I had to have a different number, and I never had a bad snap. But on the same lines, when he came back after college and he would help me with throwing, he would throw the ball over my head because he could throw it so much farther. The guy had a cannon. So I appreciate you being out there with me and helping me. So coming into senior year, I remember the Saturday we'd come in and we'd do our testing. We'd run and we would lift weights for one-time max. Afterward, we're just throwing the ball around, and Henry Kennedy, who was a really good slot back and defensive back for us, he said to me that, I think Paul's going to be in line for some awards this year. I had not thought about that at all. All I wanted to do, I had set some goals for myself, but it was just, first of all, I wanted to start. I wasn't taking anything for granted. This is something I wanted to do for a long time. And second thing, I wanted to win. I wanted to be the leader of a winning team. I'd seen all this tradition. I wanted to, be a ranked team and make the playoffs and things of that nature. And third was just some numbers that I thought I could try to reach. Of course, you can't reach them by yourself, but actually, you'd think that they might be pretty modest goals for someone who hadn't played yet, but I just barely beat those goals. So aim high, and if you get there, great, and if you fall short, you've still done really well. So we had struggled as sophomores. We managed to turn the tables as seniors. We came together in camp. We were a very tight-knit group, and I think that team chemistry helped us win a number of close games. Rattled off 6 wins in a row. We had a number of really good players. I think there were like 8 or 9 that were honored after the season. Of course, Darius Lovelace, receiver, recipient of a lot of the throws that I made, most of the touchdowns. Tremendous player. We used to tease Darius that he ran like he was running scared. And whether or not, whatever the motivation was, people had a hard time tackling him. So he would turn a number of crossing routes into 70-yard touchdowns. And also I'm thankful that he ran like just fast enough where he could get to where I could throw up my farthest. So it was a very good combination. So finally, in closing here, I'd like to just thank all my coaches, the teammates that I've had, you, Ring of Honor recipients, all the players before me that set the bar so high, and it's the best time athletically I've ever had. It was just a blast, and I'm so honored and proud to be going in with this group, but more than anything, I'm just thankful that I was allowed to be a part of it. So thank you very much.
Again, it's just a kind of a continuing thing this evening as far as the inductees are concerned. I've had a pretty good relationship with every one of them. This next guy, long relationship. We're the same age. We played the same year. We graduated the same year. Went to the same school. Was in the same company in the Army. I don't know how we wound up getting separated when we got out of boot camp, but we did. Kind of owe my life to this guy. He saved me in the swimming pool and I couldn't swim. Doing a 600-yard swim, and I was 2 yards away from finishing it, and I went down. I don't think I would have ever come up if he wouldn't have grabbed me. So our next inductee this evening, Rod Payne. He was an offensive guard and middle linebacker on East state-ranked football teams in 1963 and 1964. He was an all-Big 5 selection, member of East High School state championship wrestling team. He coached numerous sports in middle and high school in his 33-year career as a teacher here in Waterloo. He was awarded the 2008 Iowa Girls High School Character Coach of the Year Award. I think Rodney would probably have a whole lot more experiences to tell you than that, but I'll let him do that. Our next 2013 inductee, Mr. Rodney Payne.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Paul wasn't kidding, was he? I figure I had about 30 seconds to talk here. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here tonight. The evening just started out great. And every time I turned around, it got better because I see old classmates, teammates, colleagues, even a couple old bosses here. And I was even nice to them tonight. I didn't have to be. But just great. It's just great getting caught up with all my old friends and colleagues. East High football really, I believe, gave me my start in life. It was such a positive things that happened to me. And I started sophomore football, and I wish two coaches could be here tonight, Kenny Ketchum and Joe Doyle. Joe Doyle was my position coach that year. He had a different technique of teaching and different doing things, but he was a good teacher, and he got me off to a positive start. He gave me a start. Years later, I'm looking for my first teaching job, and who's my interview with? Joe Doyle, principal at a junior high. So I go there expecting to talk about educational philosophy, discipline, all that educational stuff. Sat down with him for a half hour. What did we talk about? Football, about the team, the players, the kids, East High in general. It was just fun memories that we had. So again, Joe gave me a start, and it's been great the rest of my life. This is great, and I just feel honored to be in the presence of the other inductees here. This is wonderful. I did coach football for 24 years, and I want to recognize my wife Kathy back there, because being a coach's wife is not an easy thing, and the irregular hours, the long game days, the game nights, it was like I kissed her goodbye in August and I kind of came home in November sometime. So, and that she was always so understanding and appreciative and patient with me during that time, and it was also great fun. When I was a student here at East High School, I had a lot of fun. It was just fun. I had a great time with the teachers, made great friends, and the coaches were great. And I always felt safe, and I felt like I belonged. Well, fast forward 50 years, I feel the same way. Thank you very much.
Our last inductee this evening is another young man that I had an opportunity to work with, and he is a student here at East High School and an athlete. I just can't get over the number of people that I've had the opportunity to talk about this evening. And again, LaShane Sadler fits right into that same mold. Just a great all-around person. Probably a little bit more of a character than any of the other athletes I've talked about. I think LaShane had a little bit of a dark side, but he did everything he needed to do to be a successful football player here at East High School. So our next inductee is LaShane Sadler, an all-purpose defensive running back, defensive back, strong safety, running back, team captain. He rushed for 965 yards in his senior year. Now, you may not think that 965 yards as a senior is a big record. That was in 3 games. He got hurt in his 3rd game and didn't play the last 6. He rushed for 965 yards in 3 games. He's a 2-time All-City, All-Conference, and first-team All-State award winner in football. He was captain of his basketball team that won the state championship and was a 4-time state qualifier in track and field in the 4x200 East relay event. He accepted a full-ride scholarship at Notre Dame University and was rated one of the top 100 incoming freshmen nationally by USA Today, Football News, and the Chicago Sun-Times. An incredible athlete, an incredible football player, and we're honored to have his mother here to accept his award, Mrs. Doris Salas. Sorry.
Thank you to Mr. Sheeley and Mr. Kittleson. I would like to first thank them because they were awesome to my son, LaShane. He looked up to them, and I really thank them for what they did for him while he was playing football at East High. I had 3 sons that played football at East High, so I'm a real football mom. And then I had 2 that played for college. Shane was at Notre Dame, and Ryan was at St. Ambrose. So I traveled every weekend for 4 years. I was up and down the highway at a football game. I never missed one. So LaShane was a very, very, very hard worker. I remember when the summer before he went to Notre Dame, he got hurt in the East-West game, so you guys kick their butts tomorrow night. When you go out there, when Notre Dame goes on the field, they touch the sign that says, "Play like a champion." So when you go out there tomorrow, play like a champion. Hold your head up and kick behind. I remember the summer, the night he got hurt, it was at an East-West game, and he ran a touchdown on a broken leg, and I was so upset with him. But we went home and had to have the leg set, and we didn't know if that was going to destroy his career, but thank God it didn't. And Lou Holtz saw a lot in him, and Lou Holtz and I became really good friends because I was a really worried football mom. And so he kept telling me, "Don't worry, you can call me anytime." Shane never knew how many times I called him. He would be upset with me, but I did. Shane would put a mattress around his waist with chains, and he would run. We live over by Logan School, and he would run up a hill and down a hill just dragging this mattress, building his body up and getting prepared to play college football. And I tell you, I would just be so upset and worried, but he did it, he succeeded. He did come back to Waterloo and coached here at East High. He taught history here at East High. And now he's at Notre Dame, and he's academic counselor there. He will be here tomorrow at East High. He couldn't get here tonight because he had talked to, I think, 3 schools in Des Moines today, and he's on the road now traveling to Waterloo. And he will be speaking or meeting with some students here at East High tomorrow. So if you get a chance, he'll be in the counselor's office, so if you get a chance, you can stop by and see him. And he's trying to get as many young men and women in college as he can, and he's really doing a very, very good job at Notre Dame. He's gotten more recruits in the last 4 years than anybody's ever gotten at Notre Dame for minority students. So I'm really proud of him for that. And I'd just like to say again, thank you very much he asked me if I would come and do this for him tonight. And I said, "Shane, why you want me to do this?" And he said, "Well, you've been my best cheerleader, so why not you?" So I'm proud to be here to accept this Ring of Honor award for him tonight. Thank you very much.
As we draw to a close, I want everyone to listen very closely to some of these words I'm going to read in the next few minutes, especially you varsity football players. After that, I have a couple other housekeeping chores that we have to complete before we adjourn for the evening. But these are the things that I really want all Ring of Honor members, football players. Oh, and one thing I forgot, before anything else, any other former football players that are in attendance tonight, if you'd please stand and be recognized. I know we've got some here, so if you ever played football at East High School, please stand. A common denominator linking all Ring of Honor members. A is you know in your heart, regardless of the year you played, the achievements of the team, or your significant honors, each and every one of you shares an equal status. Once identified, a Ring of Honor member is a life member. You never graduate, you're never injured, you're always eligible, and you never, ever move out of the district. You have now achieved the greatest honor that can be bestowed on an East Waterloo football player. You are a member of the Ring of Honor. Please stand. I think you know it, our school song. Cheer, cheer for East Waterloo, break up the echoes, cheering for you, stand the water through. Taking a picture of all Ring of Honor members and new inductees this evening. We'll probably take it right over here in the corner. So we want everybody to stick around. Don't leave until the picture's taken. We'll probably take 2 pictures. We'll take 1 picture of the class that's being inducted this year, and we'll take another picture of all the Ring of Honor members present here this evening. The second thing, every time we've had one of these celebrations, we've attempted to have some type of a social, beyond the social that we had to start the party. Believe it or not, we do have a couple of places where we can meet. We selected one this evening. It's a little establishment on the corner of Jefferson and West 5th Street. It's called the Brick House. If anybody would like to go over there and maybe have a Pepsi, we'll be there. We'll be there for a while. While we're there, Charlie Aldrich has another idea he'd like to bounce off with some people to think about another way that we can maybe do some things here for East High School that will be positive for both us as a Ring of Honor group and for the people here at East High School. So with that, anybody have anything they want to add? Charlie? I don't even want to ask Mike. Yeah, he does. What do you know?
I think it's proper that we introduce our new head football coach. Bring him up forward. Please give a round of applause to our new head football coach for Waterloo East.
Who will say a few words tomorrow?
First of all, I'm honored to be up here. I wasn't expecting to speak. No one said I was going to speak, so I'm not going to take much time. But I've been coaching for 30 years, and one reason why I took this job, the biggest reason is I look back at all the tradition. And I tell football players it's more than football. And we're trying hard to really work on doing the right thing, have good character, trying to make these young men be good fathers, be good husbands, do the right thing. It's always good when you're winning. Things are always great when you're winning, but you find out true character when maybe you're not playing so well or you're having a tough time. But like I tell our players, there's a lot worse things that are going to happen in your life than not winning a football game. And my job and our staff's job is to try to do the best we can to make these young men play hard, play together, and uphold the high tradition and standards that East is all about. I want to thank all the football players, the past football players and the coaches, and I can guarantee you that we'll play hard tomorrow night. In the next few years, you're going to see us back at the top in 4A football. Thank you.